I think that there is a lot of people that haven't even made wills, and a lot of people are like, oh, that won't happen to me. I might not lose capacity or need help until I'm 85, so why would I bother looking at this when I'm 60? I'll just put it off.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen. You're doing your family a favour by sorting this out. Leaving it to the kids,
Yeah.
not a great option.
Does they end up fighting or? Today we're going to be talking the ageing population and all things retirement, things that a lot of us need to be thinking about when it comes to our parents, and more specifically the legal side of it as well. We've got Emily Silby in the studio from Rioter Stewart Law. Got the name right there.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a Saturday morning at the time of recording, so you've made the trek up from?
From Katikati.
Beautiful spot.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Only 2 hours. So, yeah, I mean, it's practically like a commute in Auckland, isn't it?
Oh, just about. It can be some days, yeah. What's happening in that beautiful part of the country at the moment? How's it all going?
The avocado orchards have been really hit by the latest. We've had some really bad wind. So, I don't know if you know about avocado orchards, but you can't sell them if they've dropped off the tree.
I did not know that.
Yes, so they have to be picked.
Wow.
Yeah, so obviously a big, huge wind.
Not good.
No.
Far
So
out.
we're feeling for them at the moment. But yeah, we've got avocado and kiwi fruit, and it really is the Bay of Plenty, like so much produce.
So law is your thing. What has got you into law? What interests you about law?
Well, I really love helping people. I've always worked with people in some way, shape or form, usually selling or repping or something like that. But I do have a lot of lawyers in my family. So my mum, her cousin, my grandfather, his uncle. So
Wow.
it
Family of
was
lawyers.
almost a rite of passage, but I didn't do it straight away. I went into it later in life.
Sounds like a family of lawyers. It's probably not everybody's cup of tea, but anyway.
No. And all different types of law too. So,
yeah, well, it's such an expansive career and area, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so what's the area that you focus on or enjoy?
I am in general practice, so kind of like doctors, you kind of, cover a whole lot of issues from clients, including trust work, estate work, relationship property work, conveyancing, commercial property, company law, and I really love the variety. So, yeah, I didn't realise when I did my degree just how many options there are out there. Yeah.
And you do a fair bit in the space around the ageing population and rest care, rest homes, all the different terminology, which I'm sure you're about to school us on.
Yes, absolutely. It's all part of asset planning and the cycle of life, moving from living somewhere to somewhere else, depending on your needs. Yeah.
So as we see the population ageing, what areas do you think are people kind of underprepared in when it comes to law or even just life?
I think that there is a lot of people that haven't even made wills, which isn't really concerning until it's too late. So it's sort of one of those things that you look back on and go, oh gosh, I wish I'd done that. Especially with KiwiSaver, with the amounts increasing, the amount that people have left in their estates is going to increase as well. So it's really important to have some decision making around where you want that to go and how your family is looked after, especially with the blended families happening as well. So those sorts of plans are really important. Leaving it to the kids, not a great option.
Does they end up fighting or?
Yeah, it's also a lot of responsibility, because then they have to decide what they think you would have chosen. And that's a lot of pressure to put on someone, right? Like, I mean, it might feel like some people feel like they're doing them a favour by not being so strict about it. But yeah, the reality is that choosing those important decisions on behalf of someone else is very difficult. Yeah, so it's important to have it as clear as possible.
And then talk to us about this like enduring power of attorney shit. Even my mum came on the podcast and mentioned it, and I was thinking people probably don't even know what this means. So now we can ask somebody who does. Like, what do we need to be thinking about when it comes to our parents around this enduring power of attorney, or even for ourselves?
So there's two of them. One document is for your personal care and welfare, and that basically means medical care, right? So if somebody is in a car accident and they can't make decisions for themselves, this person that they've nominated can make those decisions for them. With the ageing population, if somebody has lost capacity, there's quite a high bar for the personal care and welfare, but it's about those medical decisions. They're really important decisions. It's a big responsibility to give to somebody, but it's important, I think, to have that ownership over that decision. And the other enduring power of attorney is property. So property is not real estate in law. So property is something you own. So that could be your assets, that could be your house, that could be your Kiwi saver, that, anything, your bank accounts. So that's another big role, right?
Yeah.
So you give someone the power to sell your house, basically, if you own a house.
Just as an example, and I hate having to give examples because I'm like, I don't want to make things speak them into fruition, but say I have like a massive car accident and then I've given Taz, my partner, enduring power of attorney, and my family are standing around having to make decisions. It would be up to her to make those, and mum and dad, if they're still here, would be like, well, actually, no, it's not for you guys anymore. Luke has given that power to his partner.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I see.
So it can be that, like you're pointing towards it being like, that's how important the decision is, right?
Yeah.
Because of these relationships between people that are left, right?
Yeah.
And you're still with us, you're still alive, but you can't make those decisions for yourself. So, yeah.
And if I don't do that, what happens? Does it normally follow a flow? Like, okay, it'd be mum or it'd be dad or it'd be your parents or
your next of kin
I see.
is usually what the hospitals would go to, but this just makes it super clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the property side, it's funny how we have to caveat, like in law, it's all things, right? Whereas Kiwi mindset would be houses.
Yeah.
Property equals houses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this would then be, what happens with those assets, or that's more part of the will when it comes
No,
to...
so they could do stuff with that property while you're still alive.
I see, yeah.
So say, for example, you got put into a coma, and I really don't like talking about this either, but if something like that happened and you needed to go into full-time care and you owned a house, then that person could sell the house for you.
I see.
And then that money could pay for your care.
Gotcha, because they've got the enduring power of attorney. They've been trusted with making those decisions if I'm not around. So obviously we're having some good, robust conversations before, just delegating enduring power of attorney, so they're not like, oh, I didn't realise this. I was going to be making these decisions.
That would be really good. Yeah. We definitely advise to do that, whether it happens or not. Yeah.
And then, so talk to us about why enduring power of attorney is important for parents potentially heading into, a rest home, if that's the correct terminology.
So there are different levels of care. So with retirement villages, which you can move into while you're still fully independent, they require you to have a full and valid will and both enduring powers of attorney in place. You do not need to disclose the contents of your will to that retirement village, so don't be worried about that. But they just need to know that there's something in place, that your assets are taken care of and your decision making is taken care of, because they don't want to do that for you. They can't do that for you, and it gets a bit complicated if you don't have it in place.
I see.
Rest home care, if you do need that, you have already taken a few tests. So rest home care means that you need somebody to look after you. You can't do things for yourself. Long-term residential care is something that you'll be looking for then, and it could be indefinite, like they don't know how long it is. It might be for the rest of your life. MSD are the ones that are in charge of that. So they provide those assessments, and they are the ones that have the say as to whether or not you need that. If you've gone from your standard living independently, you haven't got your enduring powers of attorney in place, and then all of a sudden you pass this test for MSD that you need rest home care, if you have the mental capacity still and it's just your physical health, you can do your enduring powers of attorney. But if it's too late and you've lost the mental capacity, you can't choose those people.
So who then decides things?
So then it's up to somebody, usually in your family, like a kid or maybe a close relative or someone, to apply to the court for, there's the property manager and then there's the welfare guardian.
I see.
So it becomes a little more expensive, takes a little bit more time. You've got to have tests. The person who applies has to make sure that all the family agree. It's quite a process.
So the point then is that you get the opportunity to get good structure in place before then learning about this and going, oh, if we had have known that this is actually how it works, then we would have done these things that can seem a bit irrelevant at the time or maybe just scary, so then we ignore them.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, oh, that won't happen to me.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of, oh, well, I mean, people get into horrible things all the time that are unexpected, but I guess we're talking about when you're aging. So then, and as the aging population's getting older, they push it out, you know? So it's like, well, I might not lose capacity or need help until I'm 85, so why would I bother looking at this when I'm 60? I'll just put it off.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going to happen.
No.
So, Our job, unfortunately, is to look at the worst case scenarios for everything. So we're not the positive people that'll be like, oh, everything will be fine, don't worry about it.
Well, then if we stay away from the worst case for a second and go, okay, so this is ideally how it works. So a family presents themselves to a law office, for instance, and goes, right, we know we need to start getting this stuff in place. We need some wills done for mum and dad. We need enduring power of attorney set. We've had a conversation at the dinner table or the Sunday lunch or whatever around, how that's going to work. And then documents are drafted up and then something does happen in the future. Right, as a family unit, we can call on those documents and go, hang on, what did we agree on back then, or who does actually need to be making the decisions in this situation?
Yes.
And so we've brought the pressure down in the room and we've got a clear path to follow. Is that sort of and then we're in control of it? Yeah, rather than sort of, shit, what happens now? And, oh, why are they getting to make the decision? No, they said they shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, but that happens as well.
Yeah.
People may have a family meeting, and then relationships change, situations change, and then once you need these documents in place, somebody might be like, well, that's not the right person for the job anymore.
Yeah.
So, but yes, essentially, that would be great that everything's in place. And also, like, even just having a letter to your family about what you want, like, it doesn't, to be held with the will, just for the stuff that, I don't know, like how you might have your grandmother's engagement ring or something like that, and you might change your mind about which grandkid you want that to go to. So things like that can be sort of like non-binding, like not legal, but you can hold that next to the will and you can just change that as you want, and it's sort of like lets the person know what your wishes
I see.
are.
So that's like a letter of wishes or something, I think they call it, right? And that accompanies the will. It could even be like song to play at the funeral. Little things.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's hard for people to talk about because it's death and it's thinking about bad things that we see as bad, but for a lot of us probably like inevitable that we could go through some of these things, right? But it's just
I'm pretty sure we're all going to die.
I think you might be 100%
It's not really a nice topic, I agree, but it's you're doing your family a favour by sorting this out, right? Like, you're taking the pressure off them to have to not only, I mean, it's an awful situation to go through for any family. So the clearer you can be, the easier it is for you.
Too many of us signed up to a KiwiSaver plan without much thought. And signing up is great, but if you've never got advice before, you could be missing out. Your KiwiSaver account could become one of your biggest assets over your lifetime. That's why getting expert advice early and ensuring you're in the right fund is so worthwhile. Generate have a team of KiwiSaver advisors available to help. Head to generatekiwisaver.co.nz/change to book a no obligation meeting. They can even come to you. A copy of the product disclosure statement is available at generatekiwisaver.co.nz. The issuer of the scheme is Generate Investment Management Limited, and of course, past performance does not guarantee future returns.
All right, let's get into some of these situations around rest home care and buying into villages and how all of that works. If you want to start us somewhere, and then we'll just see where we go. But I guess the common thing that we're seeing at the moment is people think about buying into a village.
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to talk us through how that works at a practical level and then some of the things we need to be thinking about?
Yeah, sure. So There is a very big difference in ownership when it comes to moving from your house to moving into the retirement village. So we're assuming in this scenario that the people own their own house and are mortgage free, the Kiwi dream, and are able to sell their house. So they've owned their house, usually freehold or cross lease or however it is, but they own usually the physical house and usually the physical land underneath it. So when you move into a retirement village, you're paying to occupy that villa or that apartment or that care suite. So it's almost like how we would think of renting.
Mm.
However, it's an upfront cost as if you were purchasing property, but you're just paying for the use of the space, right? Okay. So you don't own any part of the village. It is not a financial investment at all. And the first thing I usually say, I mean, people know this usually, but is that it's a lifestyle investment. So it's not a financial investment. Nobody's going to come out of that situation financially better off. People move into those places. We are increasingly hearing that they regret moving so late because they would have actually been able to make the most of it while they were still independent, because a lot of these villages have amazing resources, swimming pools, cinemas, cafes, restaurants, activities, day trips, all that stuff. So they're getting a little bit resorty, quite nice. I've seen one that I was like, oh, I could move into that, but I can't afford it.
Yeah.
So, those retirement villages, that's the essential difference, is that you're buying a license to occupy as opposed to buying the property itself.
So a license to occupy. So you've still got to pay for like a large sum up front.
Mm-hmm.
And then then you stay there. Do you pay annually to live there?
Weekly.
Weekly. Sorry. Okay. So you've got your upfront plus then your weekly.
Yes, that's your outgoings.
Yeah. And is that, what would that be comparable to? Like, is it a large amount? Is it like a rent, or is it a nominal fee?
It's a lot less than rent.
Yeah.
But you've paid a big lump sum up front, right?
Yeah,
so you don't want to be paying market rent. So if you're paying sort of $1 million for this license to occupy, right, then you're paying anywhere between sort of 100 to maybe 400 a week for the outgoings, depending on the size of the village. So if you've got all these facilities like the bowling green, the swimming pool, the cinema,
it's gonna be more expensive.
Yeah, and so that covers
the one you want to live at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the chef.
Oh,
cocktails. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's next level. But so the more premium the village, obviously, the higher everything is.
Yeah.
But those weekly fees are definitely one of the first things that we discuss as well, because that's something that is ongoing, and every village has different rules as to their fees. Some villages promote that they're fixed, and that's really good. So any fixed fees, you're guaranteed to know what you're going to pay, right, while you're in there. That is not the case for all villages. So some of them increase, and they will do so annually. Yeah. Some of them lean on the CPI their increase, but there's been pros and cons against that as to whether or not the cost of the village has actually gone up that much or not, and they charge it anyway.
Yep.
So, but the rationale for that is that the superannuation goes up with the CPI, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, I see. Okay. And then what happens when our time has come and we want to exit, or we don't want to live there anymore? We don't get, from what I've seen, you don't get your upfront payment back, do you?
Not the whole thing.
Yeah.
So there is there's a lot of names for this, but it's the deferred management fee. So they call it the contribution fee, the village fee, the facility fee. There's so many names for it, but essentially, if you think of it like when you buy and sell real estate, the agents charge a commission, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's a percentage. So the village charge the same percentage when you buy the ORA. It's just that they take it out at the end.
I see.
Okay. So what I have been seeing is the majority of it's between 20 and 30%. Let's be honest, it's not really 20. It's usually 25 or 30.
Yep.
However, I saw my first 40% the other day.
Wowza.
So I looked into that. They are having discussions about, I think it's been ongoing, as to whether or not somebody's going to say to them, look, you can't go above X%.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
But yeah, if you're trying to market it as a village and, you know, encourage people to come in, then that's something that sometimes they'll promote, like only 25% or whatever. Yeah.
So that then comes out of the original upfront fee that you handed over to them for the license to occupy.
Yeah.
And then let's say in this situation the people have passed away, so then that goes back to the estate.
Yes.
The net amount, so it'd be, let's say if it's at 30%, the estate would get the 70%.
Yeah.
And then that would then be distributed based on the will.
Yeah.
Or what's it called, dying intestate if there's
If you
no will.
don't have one,
Yeah.
don't do that.
Okay, so make sure you get a will, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and I feel like I saw something some time ago, but like each year you're in a village, maybe they've all got different rules, but you pay your upfront fee and then it loses value each year, but then it gets capped at a certain amount. Because like what happens if you go in and then you die, you know, like 6 weeks later? Do you still lose your 30%, or there must be tiered rules around that?
Yeah, there are. So that 30% will accrue, and it's usually between 2 and 5 years.
I see.
Yeah. So the village, depending on their rules and their contract, will take out whatever percentage it's up to within that time frame.
And then there's just all the weird shit that goes on that we wouldn't think about, right? So let's say we do that with mum and dad, but then like mum passes away, but then dad stays there. That's
In the villa?
Yeah. But then dad gets sick and he ends up in some form of hospital.
Yeah.
Is dad still paying, like he must still be paying his weekly amount to stay there?
Yes.
Yeah. Plus then maybe have some private medical expenses as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then what happens so how quickly do they then get somebody into dad's unit once dad passes away as well? Like what happens in that period?
It's kind of like asking a real estate agent how quickly they can sell a house.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So it's really concerning. There are some villages that have a restriction. So they'll be like after 3 months, if they haven't been able to find a new resident, then they, you know, enter into negotiations. And some of them actually have a timeline which they will pay out by, even if they haven't. The majority of them don't. Yeah.
So then, because what I'm thinking is, okay, mum and dad have passed away, family are itching, well, I shouldn't say it like that, they're waiting for the payment of the net amount, but they could say, well, sorry, we can't pay that out yet because we haven't found somebody to come in.
Correct.
And so the family might be wanting to pay down their mortgage themselves or whatever, pay for funeral costs and stuff, but they potentially could be not able to access that net amount because they can't fill the unit, which we've currently got the right to occupy.
Yeah. So what I'd say to that is there's funeral cover, and there's also, you can put funeral expenses into a separate account, which is just for that purpose, which is quite a good idea because, you know, you'd easily be dropping between 15 and 30 grand.
For a funeral these days?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Wow. So when you say we could put that money aside, like as a family unit, we want to be thinking about that separately, so we don't want to have all our ducks tied up in one asset. Yeah.
And often banks will actually let you do that. So you'll say you want a funeral account, so it doesn't get frozen when you apply for probate. Yeah.
So they got a specific sort of account. Yeah.
Yes, they do. And so, you know, you weigh up whether you want that in cash or whether you want your funeral cover that gets paid out by a company. However, the main issue is this ongoing cost and the lack of the village repaying. And this gets really important when the person is still alive but is in hospital, like you said. So their hospital fees are, you know, a lot.
Because they might be at a hospital at the village.
At the village,
they've
but
got to pay for those
in
too.
the villa. Yeah, that's
Sheesh.
right. Yeah. So some villages, that weekly fee continues. So you could be looking at, I don't know, 2 years, 5 years. and you're still paying the weekly fee because they haven't found another resident.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. So surely most people, they're not liquid, so they can't pay for this. So then it's just basically going to come off of the net amount.
Yeah, just offset it. So I did do some little research last night and found under the code of practice that it is the villages should take it down to 50% of the weekly fee after 6 months.
Okay.
So that's when all your belongings are out, the thing's empty, and it's ready for the next resident.
Yeah.
So they should be charging 50% only.
So I'm going to just put my accounting hat on and my thinking about it from a money flow situation. So there's a very likely chance that a lot of people's parents are going to go to a village. They're going to give all of their net worth to the village to have a right to occupy. They're going to then use their pension to pay the village to then occupy it each week.
Yeah.
And then they're going to get sick. The village is going to provide another part of the business that can then give them healthcare.
Yeah.
And they're going to be in there and be charged a fee for being in there and being looked after, which makes a lot of sense. And then at the same time, they still have the right to occupy, so they need to pay for that. And they eventually are going to die. And the wash up will be, you started with a pool of $1 million. We need $300,000 for refurbishing it for the next person to live in. You've run up this bill to be looked after through to your death. You've had these expenses, some you've paid for that have then, that are not going to still be on the bill. And then there's $200,000 left for the
5 kids.
5 kids.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there are some villages that don't put the refurbishment costs back on the residents. And also these options are usually for people that have a bit of money at the end of their lives, right? Like,
when I said refurbishment, I just meant that 30% fee, that deferred management fee kind of thing. But I was talking about it as so there's another fee, a refurbishment fee too.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. So there's a deferred management fee. I just assumed that was what they would be charging for. Like, we've got to refurbish this thing, therefore it's a deferred management fee, but not really. So there's that too.
Yeah. So they redo the villa. So
and then sell it at a higher rate. Man, I got to keep buying some of the shares in these villages.
Well, yeah, you'd think so, but then we heard that media announcement.
Oh, it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Well, I should just talk from personal experience. My investment into one of the villages that I now nickname Cryman has decreased by 80%, I think.
Did they ask you for money?
Well, I gave them a fair bit of mine, and it's the stock market anyway, and it's gone backwards. But okay, wow. And then so there'll be people listening who are like, well, sheesh, my parents don't even have money. So then is a village even an option for them? Probably not.
Probably not. There have been other options, like there are other options in New Zealand. I haven't looked into them too much because we don't get them a lot, but some villages offer the buy-in and you get some of the capital gains.
Oh, okay.
There's not many of them and they run on different rules and that. But there are options out there that, depending on the value of, if your parents own a house, right?
Yeah.
So this is all based on hopefully mortgage-free homeowners. So there are options of people that their homes might not be worth as much as the village, the top of the line village. That's just reality. But there's so many different village varieties out there and different sort of ways that you can live
I'd imagine this village piece, it's not even going to be relevant for a lot of Kiwi people anyway, because the median household wealth as a household is around $530,000. There's a lot of separations these days. That's going to dilute wealth individually.
Yeah.
And then they won't even have enough to then be able to get into a village. So this is probably more for people who have got a lot more wealth. What happens for people who, let's say parents separate and then they just get sick? They've lived their normal independent life, but then they need some form of care. What's that process look like?
So any sort of care when you're still living at home, like that again is an MSD assessment.
Yeah.
So there's all those sorts of things, disability support and house support and accommodation support and things like that.
Yeah.
So New Zealand kind of rules and regulations aim at keeping people in their houses as long as possible.
Yeah.
And you also don't want to take away the ability for people to make decisions for themselves as well, to, because that's quite a big thing. If they are, there's a residential care subsidy. So this is something that a lot of people talk about. New Zealand is a really trust-heavy country, and so a lot of people were convinced that putting property and assets into trusts about 30 or so years ago would mean that not only would they be able to allocate income in certain ways, but they'd be able to gift off, so that then they'd be able to get a residential care subsidy when they needed it. But
I'll just interject, sorry.
Yeah.
That's because a trust is a separate legal entity.
Sorry, yes.
Just because there be people that don't understand our world, right? So then the assets then become owned by that. The individual has no assets left because they've gifted them to the trust.
Yes.
And before someone's like, oh yeah, I saw this on TikTok and this is how the multi-billionaires live or whatever. No, this is just literally what Kiwis have been doing for decades.
Yes. New Zealand loves.
They love the trust. Yeah, jeez. And so then the assessment was on the individual assets. So it was basically like, let's give the assets to the trust. The individual's going to get assessed. If we come to that point in time, we'll still get the subsidy. So it's just like anyone trying to game a system. That's kind of what we were trying to do, righto?
Yeah.
But then eventually the rules may have changed slightly where they go, okay, well, we're going to catch up with what everyone's doing. Actually, we're going to look through and look to what the assets of the trust are as well.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah. In addition to hiking up that trust tax rate, which you probably know about.
Yeah. So then on the tax side, people would have a trust and go, well, my trust is only going to get taxed at 33%. This is recently.
39.
Yeah, well,
they've gone back down.
Was 33. So then they moved it to 39. So people were having a trust so they could allocate income over there. That would get taxed at 33 rather than 39 if you're a high income earner owning over $180,000. So then again, the rules catch up and they go, right, we're going to make the trust tax rate 39. So then that makes the tax piece of that trust null and void as well. But lawyers and accountants make a mint in the middle period where it's like, oh, we can save you this advice. This will help you save all this tax, etc. And then the rules catch up. But anyway, tangent. Okay, so the rest care subsidy is another subsidy on top of the pension?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And if we qualify for it, it's going to help us pay for the care that we need.
Yes, and you have to qualify for that, it's not only a financial needs assessment, but it's a health needs assessment too. So you actually need to need care for long-term residential care. So, and also indefinitely. So like you're moving into that rest home and you're probably not moving out or into the hospital. So it's like at any given time, the retired population of New Zealand, there's probably 5% of people that we're talking about. So it's such a small percentage of people for so many people to make this decision over and base their whole sort of financial planning around that. The reality is that New Zealanders are living longer and older and healthier.
Yeah.
That the average age at the moment for entering into this type of care is 85.
85? Shit, that's surprising.
So
what happens for the 95? They don't get there or they die just...
Independent.
Yeah, gotcha. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Far out.
So,
I think I saw that the average age that someone enters a retirement village, or maybe that's what they were talking about, is a bit lower, but it's like still like a lot older than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
It's not 65, you know. It's Okay, so people just because we get to 65, we then get the pension. We think that that's when people retire. It's not. It's just the eligibility for the pension, but people then go on to live a lot longer. But they I think they want to hold off going into a village in any form of care until we want to live that Kiwi
like
independent.
a swear word for my mum.
Yeah. I think I mentioned it to my dad too, and he looked at me like, "Do you want the last name anymore, boy?"
But also, the older you get, you realise actually 65 is not that old.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're getting
Yeah.
closer.
Felt the same thing about 35.
Yeah.
Okay, so
On memories.
yeah, it sounds like it's a big thing, but realistically, it's a small percentage. But it's still good for us to understand, right? Because there will be then the people their parents will then end up going into this arrangement, and they need to know, okay, what's going to happen. So they qualify for the rest care subsidy, and then they end up in some form of care.
Yeah.
So the government or taxpayer are effectively paying for that care, and I would guess like they're not really going to get better. It's just through to when they pass away. Yeah, anecdotally. Yeah, fun things to talk about. Gee whiz.
Sorry.
No, I'm trying to be careful of how I word this shit. Okay, so let's say somebody qualifies for the rest care subsidy.
Yep.
They do have, a house and whatnot. So what happens from there for them?
So usually what would happen is they only have a certain amount of cash and assets. So you can have like $159,000, I think it is at the moment, if you don't include your house and a car, right? So that's once you've moved into a rest home, you have to sell that house because you're not using it anymore. So the residential care subsidy also looks at the value of your house. And a lot of the time, if you pull it all together, the maximum you're allowed to have is the maximum amount of value in your whole assets, so including your house and car, is $291,000. So tell me a house that's worth that.
Yeah, wow. So you sell your house, and then you obviously you're going to have a pot of cash. Let's say median house value might be in New Zealand 700,000. You're then not going to qualify for this.
No, so then you have to use the cash from the house sale until it reaches down to that threshold.
And then they'll subsidise it.
And then they take over. Yeah. So
to go back to my example about the villages, so then someone's going to get sick. They're going to go into care.
Yeah.
They're going to have to sell the house. Their assets are going to be beyond the threshold, so they won't get government subsidy, taxpayer subsidy. Therefore, they will spend their money, their life's work, to be looked after until such time they die.
Yeah.
And then their estate are going to get the net. Or they run it down below the threshold of 200 and something thousand.
Yeah.
And then, because their assets are less than that now, the government and the taxpayer will subsidise that rest care, and then that continues until they pass away.
Yeah.
And then the net still goes to the estate as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So the issue that we have had in the last sort of 12 to 18 months is the property market. Nobody has control over that, but I know that everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
And everyone was so expecting to just be able to sell property, right? You're like, oh, cool, I can just sell it. And that all of a sudden wasn't a reality.
So it's not necessarily it's not going up, it's that it's not transacting. And so then we're stuck.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but we can still get into rest care quickly, but our house isn't selling.
Yes.
Or,
Yeah.
So the issue that it creates is that, so what's the issue that it creates, sorry?
So if you can't sell your house to pay for your care, but your house is worth over $291,000, which it will be, you not only can't get the subsidy, but you need rest home care, but you can't pay for it because you've got a house that's worth the money that they say that you've got, right?
I see. So you're
stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
So MSD have a loan scheme that they come in with, which is to do with the residential care subsidy. And so that's for people that qualify that have gone into rest home because they need that sort of care. They will front the care costs while your house is on the market. And they put a caveat on the title to make sure that when that house is sold, their money is repaid.
Gotcha.
And then your subsidy goes in from by the time you've paid down to the $291,000. The good thing about the MSD loan scheme is that you don't usually have an interest charge on it. So I don't know if you've touched on reverse mortgages before, but those all come with interest. So it's just like a regular mortgage, whereas this is a loan for people that need it. So
they're basically just you're running up debt with MSD, which is then paying the risk care provider so that you don't get stuck in limbo of, oh, I know you're really unwell, but that's a shame. We're going to have to wait for your house to sell and you just got to sit here until that doesn't happen. So basically they've just solved that piece.
Yes.
Because the risk care provider still wants to be paid
Yeah.
to look after the person in the meantime.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And like the last one I did, they gave it for a 12-month period.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And we did manage to sell it within that time, but it certainly wasn't quick, you know.
So this is going to sound bad, but I'm going to say what I think all the listeners are now thinking. For the best possible outcome for children financially is that their parents probably die before going into either of these. Yeah. I don't want to say it, but I know someone's thinking it, okay? Because it sounds like these guys are going to capture all of the wealth in the country for the people who then need to enter that. However, the villages obviously create an amazing experience for people. I'm not saying that, you know.
Well, that's it, right? Like this
it's
is
a lifestyle.
Like, I didn't realise until I came into this job the expectation and the entitlement that a lot of families have to inheritance. That was never a thing for me. I didn't expect it, never anticipated it. It just, but the amount of people out there who are like, no, that's my money, but it's actually the grandparents that have earned it or the parents that have earned it. So there's, you know, there's this whole legal side and there's this, but the reality is that we're talking about people that think that they're entitled to something that they haven't earned as well, which is a different sort of...
Sounds like politics, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking to Andrew Clements in that podcast, and he's in the same profession as you, he was talking about the same thing where he splits people into the disempowered, where it's like the parents and the kids won't talk about succession and what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you've got the rising group, I think, which is 10%. Well, I guessed what the percentages would be, 10% that like they might want to take over the family business, they want to learn about it, they might want to go, what are we going to do with this wealth, how do you want to see it playing out, mum and dad? And then the 40% are the entitled and basically like, oh, that's ours, like, we should have it now, why are you guys holding on to it? And that's probably what we're looking at, 40% of people are probably thinking. And they're probably building their life around, well, what am I like going to get? But fuck, some of them are going to get a fright when they realise that it's going to get lost in this bit before it actually gets to them, right? And I think that's why, you've got to be so careful planning your life based on a windfall from somebody else.
Oh, I think that's crazy.
Yeah. But I reckon there'll be a lot of people doing that right now. They'll just be like, I don't need to worry about finances because my parents are pretty sweet or whatever.
Yeah, but then what happens if they live to 105?
Yeah.
And you're 70.
Great point. Hadn't thought of that. Yeah. Wow. It's going to be, it's going to be very interesting to watch this, this next kind of 4 decades play out, eh?
Yeah. And we've got people keep saying we've got an aging population, but like that's because we're human and we age. But there's a bubble of people that are filling up the retirement villages right now, but at some point that's going to lessen and then we're going to probably have quite a lot of retirement villages that are empty as well. So then what happens with those and what happens to the ones that are the last ones leaving the village that aren't replaced by a next resident that then don't get a payout or...
Yeah.
Well, how does that work?
The sad thing, well, I don't know if it's sad, but the thing when you start trying to think about all this stuff and think critically, you do realise that New Zealand's basically based on a whole strategy or methodology of we need to keep bringing people in to keep everything going, eh?
Yeah.
To keep GDP growing, to keep house prices going up, to then replace the population because we're not having as many kids as we once did, to then probably fill the retirement villages back up. Like if all of that stops, the whole country, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing now, where it has stopped to a degree. We're not having as many people come to New Zealand.
Yeah.
GDP's slowing down, like things aren't getting done.
People are going on permanent OEs.
Yeah, permanent OEs is a good way. Yeah, I went over for a year and never came back. Yeah, far out. That is, it's kind of scary to think about. I do wonder, they'll have to correct it somehow. Like they're going to have to incentivise more people to come to New Zealand because the whole thing just stops working. Or we have to accept that we have a very different country. I don't know. But Professor Paul Spoonley, who comes on the pod, he often talks about how we need a population strategy for New Zealand. It shouldn't be a dirty word. It should be a like, hey, this is what we're doing. But
yeah, and what sort of culture do we have? Like, are we going to be living intergenerational? Like, are we going to look after the older generation? You know, like, we could go into a huge tangent on that because I believe it starts from when you first have the kid and how the country supports you bringing children in and you know, New Zealand's a really hard place to have a career and a job and spend time with children, and then we get taught to be separate in ways because we have a job and then they're over at school, they have after school activities, they have holiday programs, so you're living separate lives, and then the adults, you're like, well, it's not my job to look after my parents. They can go into a village or a rest home because I've still got my career and I've got my kids to look after and I've got to think about them. And we're kind of all separated. Like, can we change that in a way to make it, I don't know, are we going to look after each other? Are we going to live together? Are we going to, I don't know.
Yeah, like live as a family unit again rather than sort of, I mean, you see it when you go to the different countries, right? That's how they do it. And you're kind of like, oh, that seems to make a lot of sense for them. Or even just, you know, there's that old saying, like, it takes a village to raise a child, for instance, right?
It really does.
And then you have your friends who lose their parents and stuff, or they live in different countries to their parents, and you see how hard it is for them to raise kids because they don't have parents close by. But I think even thinking back for me, it was, you know, when we were growing up as young people, you would always go to your grandparents and like they might cook for you or like look after you, or, you know, you'd spend some time there, but it was very like, okay.
Georgie pie.
Yeah. And now we go back to our life. And then when I was 17, you know, I was reflecting on this the other day. It was really sad because I talked to some uni students and they're already thinking about, you know, the state of the country and standards and moving overseas. I'm thinking, man, when I was 17 going to uni, I was thinking, fuck yeah, I get to do what I want. And this is holy shit. I don't know how to cook. I need how to make that roast. Like, how much does mince cost?
Noodle sandwich.
Yeah, I can go out. No one is telling me that I can't. This is exciting.
Yeah.
But the thoughts at the moment are like, oh, the faster I can get out of New Zealand, better. And I'm like, man, it's just sad to see, right? But my point being that I was excited to then go and be independent, but then I had an amazing period in my 20s where I get to move back home with my parents and be a bit more mature. Yeah. And the conversations it was amazing, you know. Yeah. And I do wonder if, you're seeing younger people stay at home longer now as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's cheaper.
The sad thing though is I reckon that all of this stuff is being forced by the cost of living. It's like the choice has been removed, so it's not, you know, and even, you know, I talk about this every now and then, you would have more experience in it than I, but, you know, like some women who don't actually want to have a career and go down that path, but almost it's like normalised and forced to that, as a family unit, we're going to have to both work to then have enough income. Yeah. And that's all good and well for some people who are real career driven, but you've got people that I would imagine that even lads that would go like, I just want to be able to afford to stay home and us not have to do this, you know, and ship the kids off. And I think we can, you know, have a fight about men versus women and stuff instead of going, wait, how did this actually happen? Like, why does, so just the cost of housing and the cost of everything.
Yeah, you got to work together.
Yeah,
you got to work together. I mean, I'm not very good at budgeting. I am working on it. And, you know, your podcast helps. But even just looking at the bare bones of our budget, we've probably got another $500 a week just on base costs in the last probably 4 years or so.
Yeah.
Just like your rates, your insurance,
your overall costs have gone up.
Yeah, and that's not going out for dinner costs. That's no entertainment costs. That's none of that. That's just your regular
rates, insurance, food, power. Yeah. Yeah, it's wild, eh?
Yeah, I was just saying to my husband the other day, I'm like, why is our money not going further now that we're earning more? Yeah. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's scary, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, don't worry, inflation's 2.7%. You know, tell that to the rates bill, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I better get us back on topic because we want to, no, it's my fault. Get as much education out of you as we can whilst you're here. What about things like, you know, probate we've touched on, but even just things like organ donation, distribution of money at the end of a life, that sort of thing, just at a high level, you know, why it's going back to having a will and why that stuff is important, or even just things that Kiwis aren't thinking about that they could be.
So probate, has changed from 15,000 to 40,000, which means that if you have more than $40,000 worth of assets, you need to apply for probate. So you can only apply for probate if you have a will. All right. So people that don't have a will, it comes under a whole different legislation. It's not impossible. It just makes it a little bit longer, a little bit more difficult.
So what is probate that we're applying for?
So when you have a valid will, which
Yep.
means that the person entered into the document, they knew what they were doing. Got to have all your marbles.
Yeah.
And you got to have two witnesses that are independent that aren't going to benefit from that will. That's a valid will.
Yeah.
Then that will has to be put with something called an affidavit, which is something that it's just a document that you're saying that I knew the person that passed away, and this is their real will. You know, they exist. And that gets sent to the High Court.
Yeah.
And the court has to say yes, this is a valid will, or no, there's some issues here.
So they get hundreds of these a day.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there was a huge lag, especially over COVID times. And so people were waiting months and months to get probate, which meant that you couldn't do anything with the person's estate.
Yeah,
Everyone was stuck in limbo.
So all the assets are frozen. We've got mum and dad's got cash up the wazoo in the bank, and we can't touch it because the High Court haven't approved that the will is effectively accurate.
Yeah.
Probate is sort of the confirmation. Yep, we agree.
Yeah.
Now you can go about executing the will with the lawyer.
Yeah, that's right.
I see. Yeah.
So it's a bit quicker now.
Yeah.
So can't remember what the point was, but once you get probate, the person that you've nominated to take care of your estate, that's called the executor and the trustee, and so that person can then start making decisions and paying out and paying debts and things like that. So there's a lot of legal timelines and things, but essentially your job is to follow the will. So the will is the direction for which you need to do things by.
There's a bit of pressure on that executor, right? Because if they're in the middle of a blended family or whatever, like as much as they're just executing on the will, there's still going to be emotion and expectations. Do they need to be like careful documenting the decisions that they've made and like emailing the team, the family, and saying, hey, here's what we've done based on the will and shit? Because I bet fucking families and relationships get blown up at that point.
Oh, yeah. So that's another big part of our work. Because things don't go as planned, especially with blended families. And the executors, while they can communicate everything that they're doing, they don't necessarily have to. They can send them like a statement and stuff. But as long as they distribute in accordance with the will, they don't have to do anything more than that. So good executors will do exactly that. They'll communicate with the whole family, be part of a process that's quite, inclusive.
Yeah.
But blended families is a really difficult area, and this is why having a will is so important.
Yeah. When you say blended families, is that like, okay, parents are separated, then people have remarried, then there's two different types of family backgrounds and stuff, then you've those as well, and then the new people have married and kind of expectations and different cultural dimensions and whatever.
Different kids usually is where it comes into the
I
issue.
See. Yeah.
So the initial family
and then stepchildren and
So you could have two people that actually have had kids already that get married, and they're leaving their wills to each other because they have a relationship now, right? Then you've got to suss out how, once the two of them have passed, that goes back to their shares in whatever way, shape or form.
Yeah.
So another big part of my job is relationship property. So that, to keep things separate, if you want to just give half and half to each other, then that's fine, because that's usually how it works. There's a presumption of equal sharing. But if you want anything kept separate property, you need to have it in a separate agreement, because even if it's in the will, it won't matter. It'll still be open to a relationship property claim. So if you came in and you were like, oh, well, you can live in my house, but I still want my house to be my house at the end of the day. And if I die before you, you can still live in the house, which is called a life interest. But then once you die, I want my house to go to my kids.
Gotcha.
Right? So
Yeah.
you're not giving that full ownership over to the partner.
Yeah.
You
I
want to
see.
keep it over there.
They've got a occupy to live, a license to occupy. So
Without having to pay for it.
Yeah. But then the two kids are probably like, oh, we thought we were going to get some money when mum died. Like, damn, now we have to wait for Bob to pass away for us to actually get paid. So I can imagine this is where the shit starts.
Oh, yeah. And
wow.
I've had, I haven't been in law that long, but enough to know that if the person that dies has nominated their kids as the executor and the step parent is left being allowed to be in that house and the relationship breaks down between the kids and the step parent, it can be awful because they just want that person out. So it can be really not nice for that person. And that might not have been the case, like the time during the relationship between the children and the step parents might have been fine.
Yeah.
But things change.
Well, I always see that law is going to be interrupted and destroyed by AI, but I don't think so. Judging by the amount of shit shows you guys are going to have to try and tidy up.
I love AI. It is a great tool, but it is just a tool and it has to be used responsibly, but it is amazing. Yeah, I don't think it's anything to be scared of. I think it's something to embrace.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there anything we haven't touched on that you'd like to touch on before we wrap up?
The residential care subsidy. So when you do the financial needs assessment and you can only have X amount of assets in that, they do not take into account your relationship property agreement. So if you have done a relationship property agreement, you've come into a relationship with somebody, the other party is really well off, you're happy in your relationship and they've kept their wealth to themselves, the MSD will go, nope, you're in a relationship, so half of that's yours.
Oh, well, unless you've got a relationship property agreement, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Wow. Okay. So you're not going to get, so you don't actually get use of their resources, but you're not going to qualify for a subsidy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's quite a loophole that I wanted to include because, that can get people, especially blended families with relationship property agreements in place and everything's sorted.
Yeah.
Not that usually they come down to that, but sometimes they do. And like we said before, it's a very small percentage of people that need rest home care, but just so that people are aware that even if they have entered into a relationship property agreement, that may affect.
Well, it's very hard to give such a broad topic so much context and information in only an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've probably created more questions for listeners than answers, but hopefully it sort of introduces people to the topic and things that they need to be thinking about. If they want to go deeper on this or maybe reach out or find more information, what's the best way for them to do that?
You could contact me. Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to have a chat. I'm quite often have initial chats with people just to see where they're at and what they want to do, whether they want to go through with anything or not. Yeah. I'm totally happy to do that. So, yeah.
Shall I chuck your email into the show notes?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll chuck your website in there as well.
Perfect.
But I assume there's other resources online and probably on your guys' website and whatnot people can start reading up. And
Citizens Advice Bureau is really good. Any sort of community centre or resource centre usually has free advice or the ability to find someone that will give people free advice. The family law stuff and relationship property, you can always look up, the New Zealand courts websites. They have a lot of good resources as well.
Cool.
And the retirement village, they have to disclose everything, so everything about that is online.
Yeah, awesome. Is there one key piece of advice if people are sending their parents, or sorry, that probably sounds bad, sending their parents off to a village?
Yeah.
Are they going to be going to a village that they, is it getting the terms and conditions reviewed by a lawyer, for instance, or?
Oh, they have to.
Okay.
There's a legal obligation to do that. Good. Yeah. So because they have to have about 5 legal documents given to intending residents, they have to have this thing called a disclosure statement from every village, which is supposed to be a user-friendly explanation to a resident.
It's real friendly.
119 pages was the last one.
Of course.
Yeah. So
Wow.
it's a lot to go through, but it's a lifestyle choice, and I think that people should do it earlier than later if they have the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today, and we might have to do a part 2 at some stage and go a bit deeper. I'm sure there'll be some questions from the audience.
Cool. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. As always, make sure you're taking action, and I would love to see you on the 5th of December at Keep the Change Unplugged. We're going to be kicking off around 6:30, but start rolling in from 6 p.m. It's only $26. It's in Takapuna. If you Google Keep the Change Unplugged, you'll find the Ticketmaster link. I'd love to see you there. Let's get inspired by some of these amazing guests that we've had throughout the year and get ourselves ready for an awesome 2026. Bring it on.